Ladies and gentlemen, starting now, the panel for Blizzard Publishing, So What's the Story? Please give a big round of BlizzCon applause for our panelists.
What's up? What's up, everybody? Thank you for coming to the Blizzard Entertainment Creative Development Publishing panel.
Wow, that's long.
Did I say that right? Did that happen?
Yeah.
Do you guys appreciate the power that is sitting on this stage at this moment? Guys, my name is Chris Metzen. I am Blizzard's lead cheerleader. And I think we're going to introduce...
I'm Mickey Nielsen. I run the publishing team.
I'm James Waugh. I'm a senior story developer.
I'm Cameron Dayton. I'm a publishing developer.
Sean Copeland. I'm a historian on creative development.
All right. Yeah, Sean!
Christy Golden. I've written a few Warcraft and Starcraft novels.
Hey, Christy!
Richard Knack, Warcraft and Diablo novels.
Yeah!
Nate Kenyon. I'm a newbie. Don't know what the hell I'm doing up here, but hopefully you guys will help me out.
Nate Kenyon!
Warcraft.
Guys, thank you for coming out. How's everybody doing here at the end of day one BlizzCon? Yes and yes. Guys, it's been a crazy day. So it's wild to wind up with this panel at the end of the day. Good Lord. So as we get things going on, we're going to talk to you a little bit about some of the lore projects we have in development right now. We'll tell you a little bit about our philosophy of kind of how we chase the fiction, what we want to get out of the fiction of these universes we built within our game products. So to lead off a little bit, we were going to talk about, Mickey, what were we going to talk about? We were going to talk about the future. We're going to talk about...
Who has the clicker, by the way? Can we go to the next slide?
Did we come out with a clicker?
It's very
clicker.
important.
We are clickerless. If somebody could provide a clicker, we would be very appreciative.
I could just describe what the slides would
Actually,
be.
interpretive dance might be the best way to communicate this to you.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all.
Oh, there it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, Backstage Dude. Round of applause for Backstage Dude. Bring that down, baby.
I really like the interpretive dance idea, though.
Guys, for the past number of years, the Creative Development Department has been involved in developing fiction to expand and enrich Blizzard's IPs. We all grew up as super geeks, right? We read a lot of novels, we read a lot of comics, we read manga, everything, right? Movies, everything y'all are into. So as we began the process of creative development many years ago, we doubled down on the media types that we enjoyed most, right? We started chasing, you know, novels and comics and all that stuff. And it's kind of funny, as the years have gone by in the digital age, right? Everybody, how many of y'all have like iPad, some kind of tablet technology? That's it, really?
Digital watches.
It's totally
digital watches. There we
it's
go.
totally the lore fans that do not have iPads. That blows my whole thing. I'm just going to quit right here. So the trick is, guys, in this day and age, I'll be totally candid with you. Did my voice just break? Was that Peter Brady? Good Lord. Thank you. Oh, I hate camera phones. In the digital age, as we put out our novels, our comics, our manga, at the end of the day, we're servicing what is likely to be a very passionate 100,000 people. The simple fact is, at a business level, print ain't doing all that well. And it's only held up, I believe, by badasses like Christy Golden, Richard Knack, Nate Kenyon, are just about the only reason these days, oh, I'm sorry, and New York Times best-selling author Mickey Nielsen.
Thank you.
You
Thank
bastard. I'm going to write a comic one of these days. I'm going to get on that list. So I believe the publishing world is supported completely by these people at the end of the row. But what's interesting these days is with the millions of people that engage with our products and engage with our games, we're always looking at ways to try and get our stories out to an even broader set of people. For the millions of people that play, one could argue that people are very, very interested in our stories, right? But they may not be interested as much in the classic media that we all love most. So you guys will see from time to time, we would be doing the leaders of, the faction storylines, and we put those out for free. Somehow, putting things out for free seems to be a way that people want to engage with your content. I don't understand that. Put it out for free, they want to, I don't know.
Crazy.
I like paying for things.
Madness. So these days, we're always looking at other ways and alternate media types that we can convey these stories through and, just try and get these ideas out to a broader mix of people around the world. Having said that, we love novels. We are going to do lots and lots of novels. We are going to just absolutely embrace the media types that we love most. But to just give you a sense of the future of publishing, we're going to try all sorts of weird things out. I'm thinking about animation. I'm thinking about, motion comics, all sorts of weird stuff. So guys, if you love these ideas, we're going to try and cast lines into the water for everybody, right? Because these ideas, I believe, need to be shared by everyone. So having said that, I'm going to hand it off to New York Times bestselling author Mickey Nielsen.
So we can tag team this one if you like. We're going to talk about Book of Cain right here. So did you guys do the Diablo lore panel yet?
We did not.
Okay, when is that?
Should we just start singing to each other now?
As long as you keep caressing me, I don't care what we do. So
guys,
go ahead. Here, hold that for me, Wayne.
Guys, one of the latest publishing projects we've been working on with a good friend of ours named Flint Dilley is Diablo Book of Cain. With the imminent arrival of Diablo 3, hopefully sooner rather than later, we wanted to put together a source book that really catalogs the history, the characters, the lands, and the mythology. Now that is something you don't see.
Why is everyone staring at my lap?
I know what my reason is. So, control. I must maintain control. So the Book of Cain, ladies and gentlemen, is an attempt to codify and clean up the history of the Diablo franchise in such a way we put it into this book that's essentially narrated by Deckard Cain. The idea in the game lore is that it's been about 20 years since Lord of Destruction, which was the last Diablo game product. I can't even remember the year we put it out. Let's just say it was a long time ago. It's been about 20 years since Lord of Destruction. And Deckard Cain, the sage historian of the Diablo universe, has compiled a book of lore. He believes that an apocalypse is imminent after the events of Diablos 1, 2, and 2.5. He believes that the last lords of hell are up to some shenanigans, and that it's about to spill over into the mortal world. So Book of Cain here is an illustrated romp through the history of the Diablo universe as written by Deckard Cain and chock full of his own personal journal entries and his own theories about what's coming for the world of Sanctuary. With any luck, there's some level of smart continuity between it and the game we're about to publish. Is there anything else you think we should say about Book of Cain?
So the only other thing I wanted to add to that is if you guys want to check out this physical version, this is a mock-up that Pocket Books, or I'm sorry, Insight Edition has over at their booth right now. So it's over that way, a few halls over. If you guys want to go and check this out, you can flip through it. You can see all the artwork in here, everything. It's the book, except it's a mock-up, so it's a digital printed version of it.
And guys, I guess I would say we had so much fun making Book of Cain, ultimately like a very clear, here you go, honey. A really clear codified history of the world of Diablo. We've been thinking about doing the same kind of treatment for Warcraft and Starcraft. I was going to ask if you guys have any interest in that kind of thing, but I think
we're thinking about it anymore.
I think that just answered the question. And if you could imagine the level of pain of the ass that would involve, trying to get all that lore straight, good Lord. But we had so much fun with this book, and we think you guys are going to love it and just love the story of Diablo, that we're keeping it in mind that we may want to do source books this way for all of our universes.
Okay, so next up, don't hit it just yet. We got to build this up a little bit. I believe this is a first-time official announcement. So you guys are all here for this. Very exciting. Given the announcement this morning about Mists of Pandaria, it should come as no surprise that we will be bringing pandemonium on the book front. And so here we have it. Pearl of Pandaria is the name of this book. This is being published through DC Comics. It's a hardcover graphic novel. As you can tell, the artwork is absolutely gorgeous. This is, the artist's name is Cheeks, and he's popular for, he was the main character designer on the Spider-Man cartoon, and as you can tell, his style is just a perfect fit for Pandaria and for this book and the tone of this book and everything else. So the story takes place pre-Cataclysm. There's going to be another story that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes that will bridge the events of this book, the end of this book, and the start of the next expansion. And
wasn't this written by a New York Times best-selling author?
It was, and this is one of the best stories you will ever read. I can say that without reservation. I'm a little bit biased because I wrote it, but yeah, it's
No,
pretty
that's
damn good.
New York Times best-selling author.
Yes,
right. Vicky
yes.
Nielsen.
Let's make sure we get that right. Okay, so moving on to Dark Riders. We announced this last year, I believe, at Comic-Con. Again, fantastic artwork by Neil Googe. The goal of this comic and the other one that James is going to talk about here in just a minute, we wanted to do Alliance and Horde graphic novels, and we wanted to really zero in on what it means to be Alliance. What does it mean to be Horde? So for the Alliance, you know, what we came up with was the Alliance is all about bringing light to the dark corners of the world, and so that's what this story is about. I'm very, very happy to say it's been a long time coming. It is almost done at this point. Pencils are pretty much done, and we're moving into colors, and so you guys will be seeing this here soon-ish. All right, James?
You know, before I talk about this Horde-centric book, is it possible for me to get a "For the Horde"? Oh wow, I've always wanted to do that.
Sweet music.
That was great. Like Mickey said, the purpose of these books was really to drill down and kind of get to the thematic roots of what it means to be Horde. You know, one of the compelling things about the Horde story to me was when I first rolled Horde was always the fact that, you know, they're a group of outsiders. They're Azeroth's, you know, misplaced outsiders, the kind of freaks of Azeroth in a sense, right? And you know, I can relate to that.
James is freaky.
But despite
From what I
that,
hear.
despite that, they come together and they've formed a family, and it's a dysfunctional family, but it's a family that sticks together under one banner, right? And so we really wanted this story to kind of capture that and be a microcosm for that. I think Doug Wagner just handed in a terrific script, and Jeremy Ratpack, check out the art on this. I mean, it's so gritty, and it feels like he was channeling a John Buscema from Conan. You know, and it's a stark contrast to the Alliance book's bright colors. I can't tell you enough how excited I am about this, and I think when you see it, my enthusiasm will spread to you guys.
And this one is almost finished as well. So the pencils, I think, out of 120 pages, I think we're up to like 110. And
We're getting colors already, too.
Yeah, and we've started on colors. So again,
My face melts every time I see these pencils come in.
yeah, absolutely beautiful. Okay, so next up, we're just going to talk a little bit about Sword of Justice. This is the Diablo comic that we're doing. This is going to be a limited series that will then come out as a graphic novel. I believe issue 1, November 23rd, if I'm remembering correctly. Joseph LaCroix is our artist for this. Really, really cool story. It's in between the end of D2X and D3. And it's right after, you know, Tyrael shattered the World Stone, and his sword ends up in the hands of a mortal who becomes the avatar of justice in the world of Sanctuary. So again, amazing artwork. It's a great fit for the IP. It's got that kind of Hellboy style to it. Really, really cool. Okay, so I told you that there was going to be a story that would bridge the end of Pearl of Pandaria and the beginning of the next expansion. This is that story. Right now we're calling it Quest for Pandaria. This is going to be a novella, and it's going to come out in 4 installments. Each installment will be about the size of the Leaders of the Horde and the Alliance short stories that are up on the website right now. So by the time it's done, it'll be a full-length novella. This is being written by Sally Pine, who some of you might know as the winner of the Global Writing Competition.
Stand up, Sally.
Stand up, Sally.
Come on, give Sally a round of applause.
There she is. Put a spotlight on her.
Very up and coming.
Very good.
Very talented writer.
So, and she also wrote the Garrosh short story for Leaders of the Horde and the Alliance, and we're very happy to have her writing this for us.
Okay, guys, so the Leaders of Azeroth short story project, like Chris was talking about, is the series that we've been giving away for free on the web. You know, I think the root of this is everybody on the stage sits around, like when we sit around and we talk about these characters, it's almost like they've come to life. Like they're really complex characters full of their motivations and wants and needs and emotionality, but there's only so much space to show a lot of that stuff. You know, MMO narrative is kind of tough, and I think the quest designers do an amazing job getting it in there, but there's just so much more, and we all know it, but we want to share that with you. I mean, the books we do really dig out a lot of that stuff, but we only do 2 a year, and they're usually tied to expansions, and there's just so many more stories we want to share with you. And so, you know, I don't know whose idea it was. I'd like to say it's mine, but I think it was probably this guy's. And it was like, hey, you know what? Let's just do a story on all the leaders.
Mine.
It was yours. It was
just made the decision. It's totally mine.
Oh, yeah, it was your idea. Great idea. You know, and so when we decided to approach this, as the editor of the project, I had 2 guiding principles, right, for every writer. And one was you have to tell a story that you couldn't be done in game. And the second was that by the end of the story, the reader had to understand these characters more than they ever had before. They had to be able to get in their head. I wanted the writers to, you know, really use the tools of prose narrative. I wanted inner monologue. I wanted them to really kind of see their memories and understand who Sylvanas was, or, you know, Tyrande, or you know, Gelbin. And I'm just really proud of the work the writers have done. I think it's been a great project. We got great art from Ludo Lalabi and Tony Washington. And there's 2 stories left. And then it's done, and those stories should be out in the next couple months, and you know, we're really proud of them. Hope you guys like them.
That was beautiful.
Thanks. Oh, this
Are we going to tag team this one? Okay, so Mr. Wah and myself wrote Curse of the Worgen. It is now available in hardcover with how many? 5 additional pages.
5
never before seen.
Actually, we should trace the roots of that real quick, because one of the things we kept seeing when the issues were coming out was from fans on forums was like, hey, did Blizzard forget about Valinda Starsong? And we didn't. That was actually the first thing the first puzzle piece we figured out when figuring out this comic, but there just wasn't space to tell that story in this comic. And I think initially we were going to put that story in the Dark Riders comic, and then through the course of development, it ended up getting kind of on the cutting room floor. But that story is still very important, and it was kind of this loose thread in the tapestry. So when DC approached us and said, hey, we'd like to do 5 more pages, like we did for Ashbringer, you know, do you guys have a story you'd like to tell? And it was this weird sitcom moment where Mickey and I kind of looked at each other and said, Valinda Starsong. And
hey, so just to ask, did any of y'all read Curse of the Worgen? By New York Times bestselling author Mickey Nielsen
and James Watt. Really fun experience. 5 years ago, you know, and this is going to be news to everybody, I'm sure, but there was not an intention for Worgen to be a playable race. I know that might come as a shock. 5 years later, they wanted to make him a playable race, and we had a fantastic opportunity to work with the designers and kind of figure out and dig out that history and that backstory. All right, next up, Cameron Dayton.
All right, so we've been talking about stories with elves and magic and a lot of kind of frou-frou things. Are there any science fiction fans out there? All right. The Starcraft universe is incredibly rich. There are so many stories still being, you know, waiting to be told, and we're trying to do that with the series of short stories that is going to be continuing over this next year. With the Heart of the Swarm expansion coming out, we're going to start front-loading it with Zerg stories. Stories that dig into the hows and the whys of their evolution, the biological weaponry, and maybe even get a little bit into their purpose and what's behind it all. We've got some amazing writers that are going to be doing this, a lot of kind of exciting new talent that are going to get on board with this. And there's a lot going on in the Caprulu sector. We want to give you guys a front row seat to everything that's going on there. In addition to this, we're going to create an ongoing blog. This is a new concept that we've played around with some of our other writing before. It's going to be something that can kind of keep pace with the game as changes and patches go through that will add that science fiction edge to it. It's going to be a science log by one of the Dominion's top exobiologists. He's going to be reporting on the Dominion's theories and thoughts about the Zerg, what they do, what they're developing, the serious countermeasures they're coming up with, and it's going to give a little bit more flavor to everything that's coming out throughout the game. And really excited about that. It's going to be some heavy stuff. There might even be some light shed on the Protoss through these eyes as well, so something to look forward to.
Very cool. And now we are going to unleash the whirlwind that is Sean Copeland.
What's going on, BlizzCon? Oh, Sean Copeland. My name is Sean Copeland. I am one of the historians for creative development at Blizzard Entertainment. And it's just amazing to be here, guys. It's one of my dreams to actually come up here and be on a panel with these titans of industry here. So
We couldn't tell. We couldn't tell that it's an author.
Wow, man, this is amazing. Okay, so normally when I tell people what I do for a living is I'm a historian. People are like, well, what is that? So basically, I thought it'd be a really good chance to let you guys know what I do on a day-to-day basis and just give you an insight to the other side of the stories when it comes to us. So, my note card. One thing I usually hear about when it comes to being a historian is, isn't that just like a glorified fact checker? You know, like, don't they have that in like other things? I'm like, actually, no. Being a historian encompasses so much more. I mean, I could go into a litany of things that I do on a day-to-day basis other than just checking like different texts and stuff like that, but I'm going to let that go because I just thought there's one major important thing that historians do, and that's to back these folks up right here. Yes. They are jamming out and rocking epic stories and narratives for you folks, and they shouldn't have to remember the minutia that's come before it.
That's right.
What they do is a labor of love.
That's right.
They do this from the heart, and they shouldn't have to... They shouldn't have to be expected to know what a caliber of a C-14 Gauss rifle is or what year Thrall was born. I mean, these guys they're busy making worlds for us to enjoy. So the way I think about historians is a perfect metaphor here.
It's like this. Red shirt guy, meet blue shirt guy.
Bring it. In all seriousness, though, going back to topic, I picture historians as part of a machine gunner team. Now, if you guys know, usually a machine gunner team is two folks. There's one Hepcat that's basically on the gun, plugging away at his targets before him, these gentlemen. And there's always that guy that's behind the scenes that's making sure the right ammunition's being loaded into the gun and making sure that that thing doesn't jam so they can continue hitting the things that they need to hit. Well, that's the historians come in. We're that guy that's sitting there just feeding the ammunition into the gun, making sure that they can keep rocking out what they do, because they're rock stars.
Where were you on the WoW panel last year?
Front row.
The bullets jammed, the barrel's overheated.
The banana in the barrel.
Can I be on your panel next time?
Sorry, yes.
Yes! Dream number 2 is made here,
I need you, baby.
So anyway, to be a good historian, there's a couple of things that you need. Besides having a really good memory for small details, like an encyclopedic memory, the most important thing that you need to have is passion. And I think that's one of our core values here is just we got to be jazzed about what we do. So the thing that I get geeked out about most is I grew up with these IPs. I played Warcraft 2, I think back in the day on my 486, you know, maybe they had like 4 gig of RAM when mouse was optional, you know. I just started jamming on this and I fell in love with a lot of the characters and the narrative. Why am I fighting? Who are these people? And just growing up, I played Diablo, I played Warcraft, all the games, and I just was so invested in the characters. But the thing that gets me jazzed up every day is I get to go to work, which isn't really work, by the way, for me, because this is my dream job, guys. My job is I'm a storyteller at heart. These guys, they rock out these epic stories, they put it out in the ether for you guys to enjoy, and it just goes out there. My job is to make sure these voices don't die. they echo throughout the eternities. That so when somebody needs to remember when something came before, I'm there and I just share everything about it. And it just gets me jazzed up. I get to work on something new every day.
Deep, dog.
It is deep, man. This comes from the heart, yo. But honestly, guys, I don't think of my work as work. I mean, I get to work with these excellent guys and these amazing authors, and it's just, it literally is, every day is a present for me, just because I get to live my dream. So, like I said, I won't go into the minor things of what I do for a living, but the one thing I do like to say is, the historians on our team, we are super fans. You guys are super fans. You're here on this panel, listening to us know about all the publishing, but you play the games, you buy the merchandise, you guys live this lore. And I just like to say, my name is Sean Copeland, and I'm also a super fan. Thank you.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, yeah. That's how it's done, right there.
All right, tough act to follow. But
Good luck, Christy.
if anybody can do it, ladies and gentlemen, Christy Golden.
I have been privileged to work with this since the second book in the Warcraft series. And I'm going to tell a little story on Chris and on me. I had just come off a very bad experience with another gaming company who shall remain nameless. And I was contacted by Jennifer Heddle at Pocket Books, and they needed someone to write this book. It was called Lord of the Clans. Maybe you've heard of it. And I was like, oh, I don't know. It's 6 weeks to write this. I'm not familiar with it. You know, I don't know.
6 weeks.
6 weeks. 6 weeks. And thank you. But I had some friends who had played the Warcraft games, and they said, you know, Christy, Blizzard is really known for their passion for the work. They really care about what they do. They're very excited about it. They always put out good products. I think you should give this a shot. And boy, howdy, that was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I had a marvelous time writing Lord of the Clans. Chris was there at every turn if I had questions such as, what color is orc blood? You know, the little things that you run across.
Hell, I don't know.
So I've done several others. My most recent one is Thrall. And we are selling at the Simon & Schuster booth. We have the books now, so come by. We're going to be there after this panel and again tomorrow at noon, and we're very excited to be able to offer these books to you. But it's been such a ride, and the Blizzard folks are exactly as my friend said. They're all very passionate. They love what they do. They're excited to be involved in it, even when the hours must be exhausting. So what you see when you play WoW is a lot of people's caring and passion. I've also recently started doing some Starcraft novels, and they're a blast. I've got one coming up called Flashpoint, and what this will do will pick up at the end of Starcraft 2, literally right at the very end, and will guide you through to Heart of the Swarm. And I'm also working.
It's a great book,
I'm also
guys.
working on.
I'm already I'm reading the draft now. It's great.
Yay, thank you. I'm also working on a book for Miss Proudmoore, who is going to get her day in the sun, and it's going to be quite the ride. I don't think you all know yet what you're in for, but I'd just like to take this opportunity to say thank you. I love working with you guys. You always have something new and exciting, and I hope this continues for a good long time.
It will. Guys, a round of applause for Christy Golden. Woo!
Thank you, Christy. All right, next up, someone else who maybe you guys just might have heard of, Richard Knack, ladies and gentlemen.
Give it up for Rich.
Excuse me about that. A long time ago in another universe called Dragonlance, there were some young boys who read a book called The Legend of Huma. And amongst them was a young man named Chris Metzen. And that book seemed to have stuck with him. I mean, really stuck with him. And so one day, coincidentally, when I was in California, I got a phone message that I had to return about some people interested in having me deal with another universe, one called Warcraft, and another one, actually, they were talking about called Diablo. And strangely enough, this has been a really traumatic trip. I've been there for some business. It turned out to be with someone who was very strange. And also, the other message on the machine was about a close relative passing away. So you can imagine your message was the message from the publisher was much more interesting. Yes. So I had a discussion and talked to Chris about what he wanted in this world here. And we were in sync right away on this. It was a fascinating world right away. I mean, I have worked with Dragonlance for many years, and that's a very in-depth world in many ways, but it doesn't hold a candle to the depth of Warcraft, even at that time.
You know what, even Richard, just to jump in, just so you guys understand, the level of a relationship we have with authors like Richard and Christy, and Nate's just getting started. We had this phone conversation. I'm sitting in my office like, yeah, this is Richard Knack. Going, oh, shit. It's Richard Knack. I've been reading this guy's stuff. Over the next hour and a half, characters like, I don't know, Nosdormu, Malagos, Ysera, we're just riffing back and forth, right? I mean, this man down here has helped come up with some of the very, very deep lore that has just recently played out in our game product. So I can't overstate the magnitude of creative relationships that we've been building over time, and these amazing authors coming in and really helping us just build out these universes, and especially WoW. Richard's done some pretty good work on Diablo, but I can't overstate just how precious these people are to us, and just how amazing these creative partnerships have been over time.
Well, again, from that one phone call came, Day of the Dragon, and then the first Diablo novel, Legacy of Blood. And obviously, I enjoyed working in Diablo quite a bit after that, creating characters like Zale the Necromancer, who was in a couple of the books, Kingdom of Shadow and Moon of Spider, and then going back to Warcraft. And obviously, I like dragons. Anybody can see my Warcraft books, Creating this character named Crassus/Coriel Strauss, who seemed to go over well with some people. And and it's just, everything's running, but I've always enjoyed, the depth of the world there and the depth of the characters, and going from the Night Elves into the Ancients with Malfurion and Terendi and Illidan and their story, and then being able to develop Malfurion more along the way of Stormrage, and then because of that, going now into Wolfheart, where I touch the souls of Varian amongst other characters, and even give you a little bit of what's making Garrosh be the way he is. I have to say that I'm very pleased. And I cannot give enough kudos to Chris and Mick and James and everybody who's worked on the books. And Cameron, I'm working with you now too. So and Sean, you and Evelyn, and the people in lore. Evelyn and her minions. I could not say enough good about their work behind the scenes. This is a this is a lot of a bigger world than it was in Orcs and Humans. And so I really compliment the lore people, especially. But with that one phone call back, it's really terrible. If I'd known, I could have visited you guys at the same time while I was there. But it really, that one phone call really changed a lot for me, and I'm happy to have been a really big part of this.
Guys, please give a round of applause to Richard Knack.
And if you haven't read Wolfheart yet, I just have to say it has an epic battle between Varian and Garrosh. Awesome stuff.
Who's read it? Round of applause for Reddit. All right. Nice.
On sale after the signing.
All right, so the new kid on the block. Nate Kenyon is going to talk about some of the stuff that we've got him working on. If you haven't read his stuff, check it out. He's got an incredible sci-fi book called Prime. Awesome book. He's done horror as well, Bloodstone, I believe, and he can tell you some of the other ones. But give a round of applause, please, for Nate Kenyon.
Thank you, Mick. It's going to be a love fest, I think, with Blizzard here. I'm the new. First of all, 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
That's unbelievable.
It'll happen to you eventually, trust me.
Yes, it will.
I think I could handle it. I'm the newbie, obviously. This is my first BlizzCon, and wow, this is unbelievable. You guys, the energy here is inspiring and overwhelming, and I just want to thank you all for bringing that here, because I'm gonna take it home and write, 24 hours straight. But yeah, I just background for me. My agent contacted me. I'd written a short sci-fi novel called Prime. My agent had contacted me and said, Blizzard's interested in talking to you. They read your stuff and they like it. So I talked to them and I was blown away. You know, it's already been said here, but the passion of these folks, and Chris and James and Mick and everybody, the lore team. When I came out to meet with them and talked the stuff over, it was unbelievable. We just clicked right away. And my stuff is, you know, my original stuff. This is my first tie-in, so this is new to me. And the difference in writing, you know, your own original stuff and collaborating on something like this is amazing. And I didn't know if I could do something like that until I did it. And what I found was that it's a very different process, but is energizing in such an incredible way, because it's such an interactive experience. You sit down with them and you're going back and forth, and you know, something might not work, and then when something clicks, everybody's energy level in the room just goes up, like, you know, 100%, and all of a sudden things are flying and everybody's going, yeah, that's great, you know. And it was just an incredible experience for me. And then I had to go home and lock myself in the basement and do what I used to do, which is really boring. So I'm moving out here, and I haven't told you guys yet, but I'm moving in. My first book is Starcraft Ghost Specters, and it just came out. I hope you all check it out. It's, you know, we really want to dig into...
Knocked it out of the park.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It's, like I said, my first tie-in, so this was new to me, but I just had such a blast with it. We wanted to dig into the Ghost story and really dig into Nova and what happened with the Spectres, and sort of tell the origins of that, and get into Terrazine gas and really rake Nova over the coals, you know. So we did that, and I think we did it in a really epic way, in a really fun way, and it's a big book. And my goal in writing it was to write a story that the hardcore fans would love, which, you know, meant a lot of research for me, and I wanted to get things right, and the lore team was incredible with that. But also to write a story that anybody else could pick up and read and love. So I hope I did that. I hope that the hardcore Starcraft fans will love it, and also anybody else would pick it up and could read it too. That you don't need to know the whole backstory, that there's stuff there that everybody can pick up and love. So, and it's dark, which I like. I think that's one of the reasons that we clicked, is that I'd written horror before and sci-fi, and I think this is a good combination. It's a dark book, and it's a lot of fun. But I also, before I stop, I want to talk about my next project, which is the Diablo book. I hope you guys are excited about this one, because it is a lot of fun. And it'll be out, I think, in March. This is a sort of a bridge novel. It leads you into Diablo 3, and it's a story about Cain, and it's another big epic book. It's one of the longer books that I've written. And what Blizzard wanted to do when they approached me on this one is kind of restart the franchise in a way, and take the book in a sort of a darker, leaner, grittier direction. And I think we did that. It's dark, it's creepy, you know, which again I loved. I love playing in that world. And there's a lot of epic battles, and it's just a lot of fun. So, and I had a blast writing it, and I had a blast working with everybody here on it. So I hope you check that out next March. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nate. Thank you. All right, so once again, Book of Cain, for this one, Insight Editions. You can go over there, you can check that out at the Insight Editions booth. If you go over to the Pocket booth at 6 o'clock, the authors here, Christy, Richard, Nate, they will all be signing. You can talk to them, so make sure to do that. Tomorrow at 12, they will be signing again. They will be at the booth again at Pocket. All right, so now I believe, yes, it is Q&A time.
Where's everybody lining up? Moderators? Right there in the middle.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
What's up?
Hello. Just want to say super excited about Pearl of Pandaria, Love Cheeks. I had more of a corporate question about the comics. Your manga line was done through Tokyo Pop, I believe, which has not existed anymore. And DC has a lot of volatility, it seemed, lately with different lines. Wildstorm has been closed, and they've been doing a lot of their own internal revamping. I was just curious how these sorts of issues have been affecting your making of the comics and your thoughts for doing it in the future.
Tokyo Pop going out of business had a big effect. We're not doing manga anymore with Tokyo Pop, but we have said at last year's, or no, it was this year's Comic-Con, that manga is something that we may pursue again in the future. We had a ton of fun writing those stories and working with the authors and everything else. So it's a great format. We love that format, and we're loving what's going on with DC right now. We got some killer products coming out with DC, so we're in a good place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having this panel. I think this is kind of an undersung group of people. My question is for Nate. You've joined the team. You just mentioned 6 weeks ago. So what? What kind of research did you do going into this? This is kind of a big company, and I feel like this is kind of uncharted territory for you. So what kind of research did you do to get to...
He's been around for a year now.
Yeah.
He's been around.
Oh, this is on now. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, not 6 weeks. I was talking about Christy writing her first book in 6 weeks, which blows me away. I've been around for a year and a half or whatever. I came into this and had... it's a great question. I mean, I think I felt like if I was going to take this on, I wanted to do it the right way. So I spent the first probably month or two talking to Blizzard and reading the wiki and talking to the lore team, and then reading everything I could get my hands on that had been done before. And you know, when I finally found like I really felt comfortable in the world, I felt comfortable with the characters, I knew where they wanted to take it, you know, and then once I sat down, you know, I was scared shitless actually. But once I sat down to write, it didn't take long, you know, before it felt like my own, you know. And these guys probably can, you know, have similar feelings about it. And they've been around longer than me, and they developed it, you know, a lot longer than I have. So I've come into it as a bigger outfit. But I felt like it was, you know, I was writing my own stuff in a way, and I felt pretty free to do that. And at the same time, it gives you a framework. So in your original stuff, you're constantly kind of floundering around, you know, like, all right, what am I doing here? Or what can I do? But when you're working in somebody else's universe, there's always a safety net there. There are always other people to go to. There are always ideas. So in that way, it was energizing and supportive. So.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate the question. Thank you, guys.
Hello, and I'm going to echo again. Thank you for having this panel, and I love the work that you guys do as writers and especially as lore people.
Right on. Thank you.
And my question is more about editing and publishing. I know there's a lot of information on writing and how to get into the company or industry through writing, but I'm more curious on how do you get in as an editor or possibly to become a historian and more a person that deals with the lore, because I'm definitely a person who would love to go through the muck to help create the book of the lore.
If you want, I can tell them how I became a historian. It's kind of a fun story.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny. When I started at Blizzard Entertainment, I started as a temp QA tester, basically doing the 7 p.m. to 4 in the morning shift. But while I was working on bugging a lot of the stuff in the game, I noticed that there was a lot of things I needed to keep track of. Like quests were especially important to me because it told a lot of the story, and like I said, I love story. So to make sure that I was getting the right information down, I kept this little journal. Basically, it's a big black book of like who this character is, where are they related to, do they have like kin and stuff like that, just like the connections in the game. So when I write my bugs, I would know, oh, okay, you know, I need to direct it to this person because this deals with either quest text bug, or this is the wrong NPC, yada yada. So I actually, really quickly, I met Evelyn Fredrickson. She's the senior historian on a bus trip actually from BlizzCon, and I asked her a lore question, and that's how I got to know her. But about 7 months later, she opened up a position as an assistant historian, and she was basically looking for somebody to help her because the workload was increasing. So I totally went in there, and I was like, oh, okay, this is great. This is what I've always wanted to do. So I went in there, and I didn't feel like I did really well in the interview, so it got towards the end of it, and she's like, okay, so do you have any questions for me? I'm like, yeah, actually, I thought I'd completely bombed it, to be completely honest. So I actually take out my book, and I'm like, I just want to see if, was this stuff valid for you? I know you're the historian. I just really want you to see if, if I'm hitting the right points here. She opens the book, and she's like, oh, okay. So at that time, I didn't know. She was looking for somebody to start creating Bible entries. So seeing that I've been doing that on my own free time, it just went miles. So,
hey, Sean, let me ask you. So given kind of how you got your kick in, like, what do you guys tell people these days that are looking for opportunities in the historian department? Do you guys have specific things you look for, or?
Basically, it's a lot of things you look for. Like I said before, passion is number one because it's really demanding because you got to make sure everything's, and you got to keep track of a lot of stuff. But a great memory is a huge one for us. Somebody who actually is familiar with the lore and actually has a passion for it. A technical writer ability is great too because you're going to be writing a lot of blurbs and doing a lot of summaries for a lot of people. So that's some of the major things that we actually ask for.
Analytical thinking.
Oh yeah, a lot of analytical.
Sean, do you have analytical thinking?
I don't know.
I would say
define analytical
for story editing. To be a story developer, a story editor, honestly, read everything you can about the craft of story development. Go to all those workshops. Go to the Robert McKee workshop. Go to any workshop where you're gonna, learn everything you can and then decide what you feel is valuable to your process or not. And then get yourself to a place where you can get as close as you can to people doing what we do every day. You don't have to come in as a story developer right from the start or a writer, but watch the process, get close to it, whether that's in New York, whether that's at a game company, and slowly they'll see your enthusiasm, see the fact that you've taken the time to learn this craft. So that's my advice. Try to get as close to it as possible and do your homework.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. With Pantarians getting the focus on upcoming stories, will we hear more about the Draenei? In Wolfheart, when Velen showed up, the Alliance reaction was basically, oh, you're still here?
There is a Velen short story coming up with the leaders of Azeroth. I think it comes out in about 2 months.
I would say that the Draenei didn't crash land on this planet for nothing. Right? I'm kidding. Well, that was a dud. I didn't get so much as a giggle out of that. We're gonna make it. The Draenei have, there's lots of story ahead. When we think about Mists of Pandaria, the Draenei do not necessarily play a huge role in the events of Mists of Pandaria particularly, but we've got all sorts of hooks for Velen and the Draenei, and little interesting tie-ins with young Prince Anduin, who is currently under tutelage of the Prophet Velen. So the Draenei are going to play a pretty cool role in the events of Warcraft history moving forward, since they are really the one element of the Alliance that is absolutely doubled down on the light and the process of just becoming paladins and priests and really taking the light to the universe. The Draenei absolutely represent that for the Alliance, even though dwarves and humans and whoever else can be paladins for sure. They're pretty much posers compared to the Draenei, as far as I'm concerned. So there's plenty of stories still to tell with the Draenei, but they don't necessarily factor in an immediate way to Mists of Pandaria.
But again, look out for the Velen short story that's coming out. It's really coming out terrific. It's almost done, and it kind of gets into what Chris is talking about with their role with the light and Anduin.
Thank you.
Hi guys, the question I'm about to ask, and forgive for those of you who haven't read Thrall Twilight of the Aspects, you should, but I'm about to give away a huge spoiler. I'm sorry.
Plug your ears. You don't want to
sorry, plug your ears.
Earmuffs.
But Christy and Richard and the creative team, I wanted to ask how it felt to see one of my favorite, our favorite characters be killed off by another author, what it felt like to hand it over, how it felt to write it, where
Richard,
it came from,
Christy.
that whole thing.
That's a Richard.
You
Christy.
bastard! We've been trying not to have that conversation for like a year.
Sorry.
Instigator, man. I'm
You're
telling you.
supposed to sit between them. I'm sorry, guys.
At least it's not in public.
Richard.
All right, all right. Now, Christy and I have both been working on this world for many years. And yes, obviously, Crest is a creation of mine, is one that was very close to me. And I have to say, and it was discussed with me that they were going to be doing something like this. And when they told me that, that because of the way the storylines were going, that it would be best if it was handled by Christy with her storyline, I had no problem with it. I have the greatest respect for all the things I've worked with them at this company, and I have the greatest respect for Christy, who I've been kind of working with side by side all this time with our books. So, yeah, would I have liked to have killed him myself? Yeah, there was always that part of me that would, you know.
You gotta be honest. That
He would have appreciaed that, I'm sure. No?
the toughest call I've made.
But no, Christy did an excellent job, and I can say nothing but good about what she did in terms of the writing. Okay, not killing a guy off of it, but I mean, I can say nothing good but good stuff.
I gotta be honest. That was one of the toughest phone calls I made. I remember like sitting and thinking about it for a second, like, oh, I gotta call Richard and let him know that we're killing Crassus. Oh. I kind of rehearsed it.
Sorry about the language, by the way.
yeah. He screamed a little. There's some tears, but.
The way we are working now, because we're trying so hard to integrate the novels with the game, is just for simplicity's sake, I'm being given outlines to work with rather than coming up with my own. And I remember getting to that part in the outline, my eyes got this big. And the first thing I did was I went online and sent an email. I said, is Richard okay with this? Does he know? And it was a tremendous responsibility to give such a major character an exit worthy of all that he had done for Azeroth. And it was a little intimidating. I think that's the first time I've had to kill off anybody else's character. I'm very good at killing off my own. But the weight of it was there, and I wanted to make sure that he died a very noble death, and even more so than his death is what it did to Alexstrasza. And that is a major theme of the book, is the pain that she went through and the loss of faith in herself and in everything, that despair that seizes you when a loved one is gone. And for me, almost more challenging was it's harder to live on, isn't it? It's harder to go on and continue almost than it is to pass. And so I really had a wonderful time working with all of the dragons. And I hope I did it justice. I did my best.
Yeah. I've noticed...
Red shirt.
Oh.
He's wearing a red shirt. Sean.
Get him, Sean.
Get him, Sean.
On attack mode.
All right.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot
Snipers.
in the writing that the stories seem to be really defined by the game mechanics of World of Warcraft. Example being in the mage comic, there's a mage being trained, and basically the instructor says to Palm Pyro, no, cast Presence of Mind and then do this. And it just never felt like the spell worked like that you went, oh, I'm casting this. I was just wondering how that happens, and if that's, well, just, yeah, how and why.
In that instance, particular, like I think we, we discussed that internally. It's a real fine line between not wanting to, have the fiction suffer from trying to make the game mechanics work in the, in the fiction world. But we do like to give nods to the fans. We do like to kind of, evangelize your experience. So we discussed it. It's kind of each time we approach an issue like that, it's a discussion with everybody in the panel and the writer. I believe Richard wrote that one.
Yes, and there's so much you want to put in there, but you're so limited on space, and the artist can only draw so tiny. Right. And I'm trying to give them as many panels as I can, each page anyway. But you can't get everything in there. We try to make it flow as best as we can in terms of the Warcraft world. So I would love to have it a lot longer, obviously.
And And there's a fine line between a wink to the players and a wink that goes too far and kind of ruins your immersion in the fiction. And we're really conscious of that. So when that slips through or when it bothers somebody, it bothers us. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think I may have a leg up because I also play. I've played for 4 years, and I also do role-playing in-game. So I'm love for the RPers. So I'm kind of used to that, used to taking game mechanics and making them an intrinsic part of a character's story. So I may be a little more comfortable with that than some others.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, so I have a story. I have a question about Garrosh. Like, is there any plans for a novel about him? I know there's been a short story, and he's been mentioned in Wolfheart, but really, we don't really know what's he thinking. You know, like the Horde has lost, you know, half the barons, and they're fighting elsewhere, and he wants to make the Horde really great for his people, and but we just don't see anything anything big happening, and we have no idea like what's he planning, and what's he what about the alliances fracturing, and what's he gonna do about that and stuff like that.
I can answer that question very simply. We don't need to have a novel about what Garrosh is thinking. If we did, it would be 260 pages of kill, 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 kill. That's all he's thinking. That's about as deep as that character. I'm kidding, obviously. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding at all. Kill, kill, kill. Right? That would be the extent of a Garrosh novel.
You'll see a lot of what you're talking about in the book Christy's writing right now, the Tides of War book. You'll see a lot of Garrosh in that. Mostly kill, 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 but
yeah,
kill, kill.
You got to think of his past though too, man. The whole reason why he is he's shaped by his history. So a lot of that stuff is you got to take into account the things like Varian and his dislike of the orcs, you know. And people are like, that's so unjustified. I'm like, well, look at his history. That's one thing I would recommend.
You want to know what Garrosh's history was? When he was a lad in Outland, you know what he was thinking all day? Kill, kill, kill.
I like this guy.
Point taken.
I'm going to find a place to put that in the book, Chris.
You're in the middle of writing it.
Embellish a little bit, please, you know.
Death, kill.
That's pretty much the extent of my creative direction of the line, is pretty much Garrosh, he says kill, and then these people run out and do really amazing stuff, so.
Okay, thank you.
We have time for several more questions.
I just want to know a little bit about your thought process when you're thinking of, you know, you got this really great story. How do you decide if it's going to be in-game or if it's going to be a novel or a comic book or a manga? How do you decide what medium fits your story the best?
It depends on the goal of the story, right? So sometimes there may be something that's going to happen. We know there's something that's going to happen in an expansion, and we want to support that in the printed medium. And so, you know, if it's something big like The Shattering, you know, that needs that kind of support, then we go for a novel. In the instance of, let's say, Curse of the Worgen, you know, that was a great opportunity to build backstory and history. And so it was very visual. You know, the Worgen werewolves, you got to see werewolves, you know, drawn really well. So it depends. It depends on what the goal of the story is.
Right. I'll be honest with you guys. A lot of the times, ideas are going to spark with the dev team, right? So in the instance of including the Worgen into the last expansion, you know, guys like, at the time, Alex Afrasiabi, who was the lead quest designer at the time, you know, came up with a lot of fiction. We'd sit down, we'd jam through the Worgen. We knew that they were based in Gilneas. We knew that there was some history of Gilneas since the time of Warcraft 3. So we'd walk through the storyline, and he would identify very quickly what component of it he thought would make really compelling gameplay. So the assault of the Forsaken, you know, trying to, you know, rock southwards through Gilneas at the time of the Cataclysm. So we knew that that was kind of set in stone and felt really good, but we were left, right, with a huge chunk of conceptual real estate, right? Like, well, what's been the story since, you know, from before that time and after that time, like when they got the curse. and it really just left us with, you know, a lot of DNA to play with that we knew we needed to explain, but that we didn't have enough time on the game side to actually build out. So that's really where creative development and publishing comes in, is with the game side, you know, figures out what components of the story are going to make the most compelling gameplay. Then we can kind of go to CDev and go like, well, we got all this other, you know, these other components left that people are really going to want to know about, and what is, you know, the best media type to chase it, right? Well, you know, the Worgen's inclusion into the Alliance. Well, that made a killer novel called Wolfheart, right? But they're, you know, the way they got the curse and the nature of getting Greymane, well, you know, that kind of made a better comic book. So it really just depends on, you know, the chunks of the story that's going to be handled by development, and then the components that are left that just demand to be told. It really just depends on what the idea is, and it'll shape itself to the right media type.
Thank you. That is all the time that we have for today. Please give our panelists a big round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Guys, thank you much. Thank you so much for coming out. We hope you've enjoyed